Remember when Thanksgiving meant rationed foods and simple family gatherings? Fast forward to today, and you'll find Instagram-worthy spreads and virtual celebrations. But what exactly changed, and why? In this video, we're taking you on a journey through time, from the 1960s to 2023, to uncover the shocking evolution of Thanksgiving traditions. You won't believe how much has changed, and what stayed the same. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now back to the video. Remember when cranberry sauce only came from a can? Back in the 1960s, Thanksgiving tables looked a whole lot different than they do today. Picture this: a simple spread with a golden brown turkey as the centerpiece, surrounded by a few classic side dishes: mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, and yes, that iconic cylinder of jellied cranberry sauce, complete with can ridges intact. In those days, many families were still feeling the effects of post-war rationing. Ingredients we take for granted now were often hard to come by or expensive. Butter, sugar, and even certain spices were used sparingly. Recipes focused on stretching ingredients and making do with what was available. The result? Thanksgiving meals that were hearty and comforting, but perhaps a bit less varied than what we're used to now. Fast forward to 2023, and boy, have things changed. Today's Thanksgiving tables are often elaborate affairs, carefully styled for the perfect Instagram shot. We've gone from simple sides to gourmet experiments that would make our grandparents' heads spin. Truffle-infused mashed potatoes, anyone? Or how about a bourbon-glazed turkey with cranberry chutney? Food trends have shifted dramatically. While some families still stick to the classics, many are embracing new flavors and techniques. Dishes that were once exotic, like Brussels sprouts or kale salads, are now Thanksgiving staples. And let's not forget about the rise of dietary accommodations. These days, it's common to see vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, and keto options alongside traditional fare. But as we've added new dishes to our holiday repertoire, some classics have fallen by the wayside. When's the last time you saw a gelatin salad at Thanksgiving? Or how about ambrosia? These once popular sides have largely disappeared from our plates, replaced by trendier options. That's not to say all traditional foods are gone, though. Many have simply evolved into new forms. That canned cranberry sauce. It's often been replaced by homemade versions, bursting with fresh berries and orange zest. Green bean casserole might now feature fresh green beans and homemade crispy onions instead of the canned varieties. Picture this. It's Thanksgiving 1960. The turkey's in the oven, and the family's bored? With no smartphones or Netflix, how did people pass the time between dinner and dessert? The answer might surprise you, and it's got us wondering, have we gained or lost something in our tech-filled celebrations? Back in the 60s, entertainment options were pretty limited compared to today. Families often gathered around the radio, tuning in to special Thanksgiving broadcasts or music programs. Maybe there was a board game or two, or folks just sat around chatting and catching up. TV was still a novelty for many households, and if you were lucky enough to have one, you probably only had a few channels to choose from. Fast forward to 2023, and wow, what a difference. Now we've got endless entertainment at our fingertips. Smartphones, tablets, streaming services, you name it, we've got it. Kids are glued to their devices, adults are checking social media, and there's always a game or show to watch. It's a far cry from the simple gatherings of the past. But let's talk about how TV became such a big part of Thanksgiving. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has been a holiday staple for decades, but now it's a massive production. Did you know the 2021 parade marked its 95th anniversary? It's become a spectacle with giant balloons, elaborate floats, and performances from popular artists. Millions of people tune in every year, both in person and on TV. And of course, we can't forget about football. Watching the big game has become as much a part of Thanksgiving as turkey and stuffing for many families. It's hard to imagine a time when we had to choose between the parade and the game. But the biggest change might be how technology has impacted our ability to connect with loved ones. In 2021, a survey found that 60% of Americans planned to use video calls to connect with family and friends during Thanksgiving. We're not just limited to who can physically be at the table anymore. We can include far-flung relatives and friends in our celebrations through virtual gatherings. Social media has transformed Thanksgiving into a visual event too. We're all sharing our perfectly styled dinner tables, family photos, and even our kitchen disasters online. It's like we're not just celebrating with the people in our homes, but with our entire online community. These changes have redefined not just how we celebrate, but who we celebrate with. And that's what we're going to explore next. Think Friendsgiving wasn't a thing in the 60s. You're absolutely right. Back then, Thanksgiving looked a whole lot different than it does today. Picture this: a cozy living room filled with the aroma of roasting turkey, where mom, dad, and the kids gathered around a modest table. Maybe grandma and grandpa were there too, but that was about it. Thanksgiving in the 1960s was all about the nuclear family, a far cry from the diverse gatherings we see today. Fast forward to 2023, and boy, have things changed. These days, Thanksgiving tables are looking more like a United Nations potluck. Friends, co-workers, neighbors, everyone's invited. It's not uncommon to see a mix of family members, both blood-related and chosen, sharing turkey and stuffing. And let's not forget about the communities coming together for huge Thanksgiving feasts. It's like we've taken the idea of the more, the merrier, and ran with it. So what sparked this shift? Well, family structures have changed a lot since the 60s. Divorce rates have gone up, people are getting married later, if at all, and many of us live far from our hometowns. All these factors have pushed us to redefine what family means, especially during the holidays. Enter Friendsgiving, the hip, younger cousin of traditional Thanksgiving. This trend has taken off, especially among millennials and Gen Z. It's all about creating your own traditions with the family you choose. Potluck-style dinners, quirky themes, and a more relaxed vibe. That's what Friendsgiving is all about. And let's be honest, sometimes it's easier to bond with friends over pumpkin pie than to navigate complex family dynamics. But here's the million-dollar question. How have these changes affected the emotional significance of Thanksgiving? Well, in many ways, they've actually deepened it. By expanding our circles, we've created more opportunities for connection and gratitude. Sure, we might miss the intimacy of those small family gatherings, but there's something beautiful about sharing this day with a wider community. The concept of family at Thanksgiving has broadened, becoming more inclusive and diverse. It's not just about blood relatives anymore, it's about the people who make our lives richer, whoever they may be. And isn't that what Thanksgiving is really about? Showing gratitude for the people in our lives? You might think that with all the transformations in how we celebrate Thanksgiving, nothing from the 60s would still be recognizable today. But you'd be wrong. In fact, there's one tradition that's been a part of Thanksgiving tables for over 60 years. Can you guess what it is? We've talked about how much has changed since the 1960s, from our Instagram-worthy feasts to our tech-filled celebrations. But amidst all this change, some core elements of Thanksgiving have stood strong. It's like they've got a secret recipe for staying power. Take breaking the wishbone, for example. This playful tradition has been around for generations. Two people grab hold of the turkey's dried wishbone, make a wish, and pull. Crack. The one with the bigger piece gets their wish, or so they say. It's a simple act, but it brings a moment of fun and anticipation to the table. And let's not forget about the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This spectacular show has been dazzling us since 1924. Families have been gathering around their TVs to watch the giant balloons and colorful floats for decades. It's like a visual appetizer before the big meal. But perhaps the most enduring tradition of all is the spirit of gratitude. Sure, the way we express it might have changed, but taking a moment to share what we're thankful for remains at the heart of Thanksgiving. Whether it's a formal round-the-table sharing or casual conversation over pumpkin pie, gratitude is still the secret sauce that makes Thanksgiving special. So what makes these traditions so resilient? Maybe it's because they connect us to our past, giving us a sense of continuity in our fast-paced world. Or perhaps it's the comfort they bring, like a warm, cozy blanket of familiarity in the midst of change. These enduring traditions remind us that while the trimmings of Thanksgiving might change, its core remains the same. They're like the sturdy backbone of the holiday, providing a framework for new traditions to grow around. As we look to the future, what can we learn from this mix of change and tradition? How will Thanksgiving continue to evolve? And what parts of it will our grandkids still recognize? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, as long as there's gratitude, family, chosen, or blood, and maybe a wishbone or two, the spirit of Thanksgiving will live on. So, what have we learned from this journey through Thanksgiving's evolution? It's clear that our holiday celebrations have changed dramatically since the 1960s, mirroring the broader shifts in American culture. From simpler family gatherings to diverse, tech-savvy celebrations, Thanksgiving has adapted to our changing world. But here's the thing. While the trimmings may have changed, the heart of Thanksgiving remains the same. That spirit of gratitude and togetherness, it's still going strong, even if we express it differently now. As one expert put it, Thanksgiving is a time to reflect on our blessings and to share our gratitude with those we love. So next time you sit down for your Thanksgiving meal, whether it's a traditional spread or a modern twist, take a moment to appreciate both the changes and the constants. Think about how your celebration connects you to the past while embracing the present.